Season 8 of Game of Thrones saw the destruction of King's Landing by Daenerys Targaryen. Readers of the series have been wondering ever since, will this event happen in the books? And if so, is there a chance that Daenerys Targaryen is not the one that turns the city to ash? Could someone else be responsible? Someone like Lord Jon Connington, who is triggered by the sound of bells, or Queen Cersei Lannister, who has an affinity for wildfire. What if it's not Dany? What if someone else does the dark deed? My thoughts on that and more, but first, the business. Consider supporting this channel on Patreon or becoming a channel member. Both options start at just $1 a month. Supporters get early access to videos, exclusive content, and sneak peeks at future projects. There are other perks as well, so check out patreon.com/KevinPendragon for more options. Thank you to those that lend their support, but also thank you to the ones that watch this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. Now with that being said, let's get into it. The destruction of King's Landing by Daenerys Targaryen was one of the more controversial plot points in Season 8. Many fans were not happy about it. It seems Daenerys was a hero of sorts until she wasn't. After a rather lopsided war in Westeros, Daenerys did what she's been wanting to do since Season 1. She conquered, she captured King's Landing, she won the Game of Thrones. But then she heard the bells and saw the Red Keep, and Daenerys decided, switching sides. And so the city, Cersei, and all the citizens, they had to go. But this event on the show has book readers scrambling because is it going to happen? Is the Mad Queen theory, which is a very old theory, is it going to come true? Is this the future of Daenerys Targaryen? Some people's reactions to Dany's turn, you can tell they believe that Mad Queen Dany is something Dan and David made up. It's just on the show. It has no basis in the books. Mad Queen Dany is a theory that predates the show by a long shot. This was not born from the minds of Dan and David. They did not create this. But back to the point, maybe Dany doesn't go mad in the books at all, and it's someone else that destroys King's Landing. So this alternative theory has two candidates in mind, Jon Connington and Cersei Lannister. Most alternative theories go with Lord Jon Connington. Because the episode in which Dany went mad was called The Bells, and Jon Connington has a rather bad history when it comes to the sound of bells in battle, it stands to reason that if King's Landing does get destroyed in the books, that Jon Connington will have a part to play. Jon Connington's issue with bells goes back to Robert's Rebellion. At the time, Jon Con was the hand of the king to Aerys Targaryen. Jon Con was very young for someone in that role. He was in his early 20s, but it is said Aerys Targaryen wanted to fill his court, fill his council with youth and vigor, which is why I think he hired a 20-something-year-old Varys to come from Pentos to serve as Master of Whisperers. How do I know that Lord Varys was only in his early 20s? Check out The Life and Lives of Lord Varys, The Complete Theory, where I break down a timeline of his life from birth to his potential death. But back to Jon Connington. When Tywin Lannister found out about his appointment as Hand of the King, Tywin said he was too young, too bold, and too eager for glory. But then again, Tywin said somewhat the same thing about Robb Stark. But in this case, he was a bit right. Jon Con was bold and eager for glory. He wanted to impress the Silver Prince, Rhaegar Targaryen. Yeah, Jon Con, his sword, it was pink. The books do not make this explicit, but it's easy to pick up on that. The way Jon Con thinks about Rhaegar, it's full of loss and longing, and you can tell it's more than just the loss of a friend. There are times when Jon Con's thoughts are basically like, damn, if only I got a chance to clap them Valyrian cheeks before he died. Robert, you robbed me. All I had left was this ugly sellsword. So because he was Hand of the King during Robert's rebellion, his main task was dealing with Robert and his rebellion. This meant finding the rebel lord and delivering the king's justice. Jon Con tracks down Robert to a place called Stony Sept. It's a town in the Riverlands. Jon Con has his men turn the town upside down trying to find Robert. They go from building to building, even down into the sewers, hoping to find him. But they do not. Robert was injured, so the townspeople had him secretly moved from building to building to evade the searchers. Eventually, Eddard Stark and Hoster Tully, leading a rather large rebel army, make their way to the town. And a great battle begins. To warn the citizens of the fighting, someone begins to ring the bells. When Bobby B hears the bells, he knows it's go time. He bursts out of a building to join the fighting. Some accounts say Jon Con and Robert fought one-on-one, others do not. Regardless, Jon Con lost the battle. This event became known as the Battle of the Bells because, obviously, this was Jon's moment to kill Robert and end the rebellion. He would have been seen as a great hero of House Targaryen. Instead, Robert escaped and he would go on to kill Prince Rhaegar on the Trident. Jon Con was stripped of his title as Hand of the King and sent into exile. While in exile, he would often ruminate on the Battle of the Bells. In a discussion with another sellsword, Jon says he did the best he could to stop Robert, that not even Tywin Lannister could have found him. And his sellsword companion tells him that's not true. Tywin Lannister would have burnt the entire city to the ground, including everyone in it, to ensure Robert was dead. In Jon Con, he thinks to himself, quote, I wanted the glory of slaying Robert in single combat, and I did not want the name of Butcher, so Robert escaped me and cut down Rhaegar on the Trident. End quote. So if Jon Con has this past trauma, and there might come another day when the bells ring in battle, could that set him off to do something horrible? Would he today be willing to accept the title of Butcher? Kevin Lannister, in the epilogue of A Dance with Dragons, he thinks to himself, now that Jon Con is back in the picture, he's going to be older and much different than he was before. This is no youth eager for glory and battle. He has spent all this time across the narrow sea being a sellsword, living in exile. This is a much harder man. And we also have to consider he is in charge of keeping young Griff, who claims to be Aegon Targaryen, alive. Which means Jon Con has one last chance, one route for redemption. If killing a city full of innocents means putting Rhaegar's son, his beloved Silver Prince, if doing that puts his son on the Iron Throne, or at least secures a victory for him, would Jon Con be willing to do that? For one, I do not think that Jon Con will be the one to initiate the destruction of King's Landing. I don't think his trauma that stems from the Battle of the Bells works in such a way that he will in the future do something horrible when he hears the sound of bells. I think his trauma is so great, so deep-rooted within him, if he finds himself in a similar situation where bells are ringing during battle, it will completely break him. It will not induce him to do something terrible. It will not induce him to become a butcher. It will mentally shatter him. And we also have to consider that Jon Con does not have the firepower, quite literally, to level a city. Yes, there are the caches of wildfire that still exist beneath King's Landing, but Jon Con does not know they exist. If he does find them or becomes aware of them, what kind of situation are we envisioning where he wants to set them off to destroy the city? The destruction of the city will not be something that someone decides on a whim. To destroy an entire city full of innocent people, someone has to be truly lost to reason and sense. It has to be the final decision for someone who has given up on hope of any other alternatives. I cannot see Jon Con deciding to destroy the city, even if young Griff is killed. One might think losing Rhaegar's son after losing Rhaegar would push him into a moment of madness, but I think if that did happen, again, it would break him. It would destroy him. It would not lead him to a moment of madness where he decided to burn them all. I think that if Jon Con found out about the wildfire, he would not even let young Griff into the city. He would not deem the city safe for the son of his Silver Prince. Jon Con wants it so that young Griff is never in the way of harm. And a city resting on a tinderbox of wildfire is too much of a risk. So for Jon Con destroying the city, I don't see it being possible. I think if the show was adapted properly and we got to the episode of The Bells, Jon Con would be in Cersei's position. Jon Con was supposed to be the one in the Red Keep hoping the Golden Company resisted the Northern forces along with Daenerys' Unsullied. Jon Con and young Griff. But then the city falls to Daenerys' forces and Jon Con once again hears the bells. Not the bells in the towers signaling defeat, but the bells in the braids of the Dothraki. I think because the show left that part out of Dothraki culture, that for every battle a Dothraki warrior wins, they put a bell in their braid, they had to make some major changes if they wanted to still have this moment. And clearly, they really wanted this moment. But this leads us to another candidate for who destroys King's Landing. Cersei. Cersei in the books has already destroyed a part of the Red Keep using wildfire. In that case, it was the Tower of the Hand of the King. On the show, Cersei destroyed the Great Sept of Baelor using a hidden cache of wildfire. Cersei in the books shares many parallels with Mad King Aerys. They both clearly enjoy wildfire. They both have dreams of building white palaces beyond King's Landing, getting away from the stink of the capital. They both had incestuous relationships with their siblings. They both had very problematic relationships with Tywin Lannister. Even Jaime tells Cersei to her face, "Now you sound like Aerys." The night she burns the tower, Jaime watches her and you can kind of feel he's thinking in his brain, "Oh, here we go again. Will the Kingslayer become the Queenslayer as well?" You know, if you're playing the Game of Thrones, you gotta unlock both achievements. And by killing Cersei, will he fulfill the Valonqar prophecy? Now here's one major reason why I don't think Cersei will destroy King's Landing. Cersei wants power. Cersei craves power. One thing about her I think the show got right in the end is that Cersei will not want to leave that Red Keep. Even under pain of death, Cersei is going to hold onto power as long as possible. She is not likely to destroy King's Landing because she wants the Iron Throne. She craves being in a central position of power. It is not enough for Cersei to be Lady of Casterly Rock. She has to be the Queen Regent. Now we have seen on the show and in the books, both moments written by Martin, by the way, that Cersei is willing to die by suicide rather than have someone dethrone her. And it seems very likely that she will indeed destroy the Great Sept of Baelor in the books as she did on the show. So what's stopping her from destroying the city if she feels like her enemies are about to win? What about all those parallels with the Mad King? I do believe Cersei has it in her to kill a city full of innocent people, but I do not believe she will. Again, we have another character who does not know the wildfire exists under the city. Could Cersei have more created? She could. But she has to be prompted to do so. She has to believe there's a possibility she might lose the war, and so she needs the option to flip the board, so to speak. If I can't have this city, no one will. But I do believe, based on the wording of the Valonqar prophecy, Cersei will be disposed before she can have a moment to destroy the city. On the show, Cersei faced no consequences for destroying the Great Sept of Baelor, but I think in the books there will definitely be consequences for destroying the Great Sept of Baelor. That will be one step too far, and Cersei will find herself hated by the city she rules over. And this will make it quite easy for young Griff to step in and be the cloth dragon on poles swaying amidst a cheering crowd. Because when you compare him to Cersei or Stannis, of course the people are going to rally behind him. Young Griff and his wife Arianne Martell, they win an easy victory. And it's Princess Arianne that's the younger, more beautiful queen that casts Cersei down and takes all she holds dear. Cersei has a few more surprises hidden up her sleeves, but none on the scale of she's going to destroy King's Landing. We are seeing Cersei in the death throes of her power. She lost her father, she lost her uncle, she's been imprisoned and shamed. Shame. Shame. Ring that bell. Wait, don't do that. Jon Connington's in the room. Don't do that. Her claws have been removed, and what she's doing now is pointless flailing. She's going to go down swinging, but she's definitely going down. So as for Jon Con or Cersei destroying King's Landing, I don't see it. Jon Con might be an older man now, a battle-hardened sellsword, but he's still no butcher. The bells will break him. They will not embolden him. And Cersei, she loves King's Landing too much to want to destroy it. I think in her end, she will wish she destroyed King's Landing, but in that moment, she won't be in the position of power to make that happen. In the end, it's going to be Daenerys if anyone destroys the city, and it won't be by accident. I've seen it said that when Daenerys finally attacks the city, she will accidentally set off the caches of wildfire and destroy the city in the process. This means Daenerys does destroy King's Landing, but it was an accident. This to me feels very weak. It gives Dany the opportunity to say, I was going to attack the city to take it. Yes, this is war, but I didn't mean for all this to happen. People can still support her without feeling like they support a war criminal. It's all rather convenient. You get to have the horror of the city being destroyed and the loss of so many innocent lives, but you get to keep your hero character in the end. It's too convenient for my taste. I find that to be a rather weak alternative. I think that some caches of wildfire will go off when she attacks the city, as we saw on the show, but ultimately it will be her on the back of a dragon that bears the brunt of the responsibility for the city being reduced to ash. It will be her choice. She will be the one who decides to do that. Daenerys Targaryen will destroy King's Landing. I feel like for those that push the idea that Daenerys will destroy the city by accident, you people are afraid. You're afraid of having these characters do dark and disturbing deeds. There is a limit to your imagination and to your level of storytelling. If you put people like that in charge of telling this story, we would not have events like Ned Stark's death or the Red Wedding. People like that, people who are afraid, people who lack daring, people like that, they are too scared of pushing the envelope. If they were in charge of telling an original story, you would not read that story and think to yourself, wow, that was a new and unique experience. These people, it seems like they lack the ability to see what's never been done before. Meanwhile, George R.R. Martin, that man has, what's the word? He has the audacity. Martin, he will go there. He will push the envelope. And that's why this series is what it is. So one final thing, in the beginning of the video, I talked about the Mad Queen Daenerys theory. I know a lot of people out there, when it comes to Cersei and Aerys, they believe she is going to be the Mad Queen, and to have Daenerys fill a similar role would be redundant. Are we forgetting that Joffrey was a homicidal bastard and so was Ramsay Snow? Are we forgetting that at the end of the Dance of Dragons, there were 3 Mad Queens, Helaena, Rhaenyra, and Alicent? When Martin first envisioned the 4th book, he wanted Cersei and Daenerys' rules to be compared and contrasted. There's an idea that Daenerys and Cersei are foils of one another. But this has been taken so far by people who do not know what the word foil means in this context. They've taken it to mean Dany is the anti-Cersei. Dany is everything Cersei is not. Cersei is the evil queen. Dany is the good queen. That is not what is said. That was not the intention. But there are people in this fandom who seem to want to take these rich and complex characters and break them down into the most simplistic of elements. Either a character is good or they're evil. There's no in between, as if this series is about characters that are good and evil. But that's a topic for a different video, because this one is done. So that's been my thoughts on why I think Jon Con and Cersei will not be the ones that destroy King's Landing. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please do all the call to action stuff. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Do you think Cersei and Jon Con have the potential to destroy King's Landing? Or will it be Dany like it was on the show? Ring the bell, consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a channel member. Again, thank you for watching, and I will see you all for the next one.